Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, the 3rd of May, and we're going to start this month's vlog. I think you'll be getting 2 vlogs. If not, this will come out in the first week of June. If that's the case, I'm already gallivanting all over London right now, so we'll see. We'll see when this comes out. The house is a mess, just ignore it. It needs to be cleaned. I don't know what this vlog is going to entail. I was thinking I might do more of a writing vlog this time, only because my reading is quite tied up at the moment. I'm reading Blood of the Spear by Mark Timoney, which I have read and reviewed before. Happy to give some thoughts on it if you want. I'm 30% in. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm enjoying it much more the second time around because maybe it's because I know Mark and we've been sort of working together quite closely over the last couple of years, and he's now a friend of mine that I just have a nostalgia feeling for it. But genuinely, it's such a fun adventure, and I think because I was just getting into reading fantasy the first time that I picked it up, or reading fantasy again, it felt more complex than it is. And this time I'm just having a mad vibe with it. But I am trying to read it for a purpose, and that is to alpha read whatever I can before I go to the UK at the end of the month. And I've asked him to give me the book on the 9th, so I've got until the 9th to read it. So I'll be reading that this week is sort of my quote-unquote obligation read. I don't really like using that term because I love reading, so is it an obligation or is it just things that I've told people I would do? Is that the meaning of the word? Anyway, I haven't had coffee. It's very early. I will be starting the audiobook for The Tropic of Serpents, I think it's called, by Marie Brennan. This is book 2 in the Memoirs of Lady Trent, so I can probably talk about that. I expect that one to be finished within 10 days. So that'll be a full book that I can talk about. I'm doing it on audio. I find these quite easy to listen to on audio. At least the first one was, and I blitzed it in a week. So I kind of expect the second one will be the same. But yeah, I haven't written anything in the last week. I just my, not necessarily my work week, but my week of working and then having to do other shit around work was insane. I'm gearing up for this anthology release, which is happening on the 19th of May. So just little bits and pieces, and I was cat sitting. It was a big week. It was a big week for me, so I just didn't write anything. But I am going to do a writing sprint today, and I'm hoping to... I've basically put Alpha Book 2, I almost revealed the title there, to the side for now. I need to work out some plot stuff, but I have a second project. So the short story project, which I was going to just write in between writing Alpha, has sort of taken up my brain space. And I'm just leaning into that so that I can continue to write where my brain space is right now. So I've finished the 4th story. Now thematically it's quite depressing because it's about grief, it's about death, it's about the world ending. But I'm at the point now, so each chapter or each story is a stage of grief. So we just did depression. Between each of these stories is an interlude about this last angel of death who is walking throughout the world, guiding people to the end. And it's, for a beautiful purpose. That is, it's for renewal and, so anyway. Throughout the stages of grief, there is a positive upturn, and that is the chapter that I'm up to now. But I need to write the interlude between the depression chapter and the upturn chapter. Now, the upturn chapter is going to be really interesting because there's no people in it. It's not about a specific set of people. It's about showing the reader what is happening to the world when people are no longer in it. So, which is unfortunately for us as humans a good thing, at least in this story. So I need to do that. It's going to be a challenge, but my aim before the end of the month and before I go is to write the interlude and to also write this story, because I think it's going to be, I'll try that again in English. I think it is going to be quite short. I would suspect that story will be around 2,000 words. We'll see. I've been wrong before. I thought the story that I just wrote would be 5,000. It's ended up being 10. Anyway, that's what developmental editors are for. They're very important, particularly for projects like these. Anyway, that was a quick introduction. Quick, long, I don't know. I'm going to now make a coffee and go do a writing sprint and see if I can't bang out this interlude. Good morning. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm growing it out until a week before we go overseas. And I've just come out from the gym and I had a hat on the whole time. So anyway, that's what we're working with this morning. I've just cracked a cold one, vegan energy drink. It's okay. It's that kind of day. I slept like shite. But I have a day off today, and I don't want to waste it in bed. So, I actually have nothing planned today, really, which is interesting. Normally, I can't do that. So, I think, and to survive not having plans, I have to make plans. So, I'm going to be doing a writing sprint in a bit, but I thought I would bake baked oats this morning. I've never done baked oats before. And I genuinely like cooking and experimenting in the kitchen, but I need someone to tell me what to do or like a recipe to follow. And I found this one last night. So, gonna do that. And then I got to 40% of Blood of the Spear. I'm still having like a fantastic time with it, like more so than I did the first time around. And like really just getting into the story. I'm also trying to practice like when I'm reading, not having the phone anywhere near me. So just by doing that last night, I read 10%. I read for about an hour before I looked up and even wanted to touch or reach for my phone. I mean, there were periods in there where like my instinct was to reach for my phone because I like got to the end of a chapter, but what I was doing was I was finishing a chapter and then scrolling for 10 to 20 minutes and then just not reading the next chapter. Whereas if I was looking at last night, I was like, the phone's not here, so I'll just keep reading. And I read for an hour, so it is a relatively new practice, but just to get off my phone and stop doom scrolling as much and just use that time for reading, which is what I dedicate that time for anyway. So I'm going to cook breakfast, and then I'm going to do a writing sprint because I finished my interlude yesterday. It was a very short interlude, it was about 900 words, because it directly flows into the next chapter. Like, it really is just a stepping stone to the next chapter. So I'm going to start that today with hopes of finishing it end of next week. We'll say that I would like to finish it by the end of next week. That particular story, and then I may even be able to fit in the next interlude before we go away. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. And then I need to do some editing. I actually finally fucking filmed some videos for YouTube yesterday, which is fantastic. Very late on a lot of those. So I'll do some editing. I need to edit something for the anthology. And then read. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the plans for today. But I'm going to stop stalling and just try and bake this thing, and hopefully it's delicious. We'll see. This is not the angle to be doing this, but anyway, I'll do a quick update. So I'm now 75% of the way through Blood of the Spear, having a great time. I kind of forgot how intricate all the layers of this book are. English is a thing. And it's like very much getting to the pointy end of this introduction story from all these characters and the Starbinders and the Chalet. And like the elements are starting to come together, but I can feel there's little like cracks happening where, because I'm familiar with the story. I read it a few years ago now, but like the characters sort of branch off and they start doing their own thing, and like that's the setup for book 2. And so I know that it's going to happen, but now that I'm reading it for the second time, I can start to see where those little cracks are happening and people are starting to sort of forge their own paths. And I guess, look, I've been trying to like check my bias for like rereading this year, and it's definitely, I've reread more this year than I have in past years, and I can certainly see the value in rereading it because I'm getting a lot more out of this the second time around. So yeah, I should finish that hopefully on Friday, ready for the alpha read on Saturday, which is when I asked for it to come through, that I would be ready for it. So we're gearing up to be ready for that on time, which is great. I'm also 40% of the way through The Tropic of Serpents by Marie Brennan, which is book 2 in Our Lady of Trent series. This one is following a very sort of similar, I guess, tone and trajectory of book 1, except the part 1 is quite short. And I think because the way the story is set out in book 1 and the start of book 2, like you get the sense that it's going to be quite formulaic in the way that the story is set out. So you have this introduction to whatever the expedition is going to be, and then you sort of have the expedition. But I'm having a great time following Lady Trent, and I really, really appreciate like the soft feminism of the world where like there are societal norms, but Lady Trent sort of goes, I don't really care about that, and I'm just going to do what I want, but I understand that there are these things that a lady should be doing, but she also like quietly gets other people to see her point of view, and she isn't subtle as a person, but the way that she uses how other people think around her to then challenge that is really interesting to see in a book, and something that I like. And I also like doing with like my peers, not necessarily about feminism, because the people I hang around with are genuinely good people, but just about differences of opinion and how I see the world versus how other people see the world. And I also try to be open to those challenges from other people. And I find that within my circles, the way that we do that is kind of similar to the way that Lady Trent does it with her peers. And it's just very interesting, particularly from someone, I work in leadership, and I encourage these challenges from my team, and I also challenge in this way to just sort of try to understand from other people's point of view, and also to change my perception on things. So it is quite interesting to read this at the moment, where there's like a lot of like moving around in my workplace. I also love the way that world building happens in this series, and that hasn't changed so far. And I'm trying to be vague here. So just because it's a book two, that being said, we are going to a new area in this world, which is kind of African-esque. And the terrains are all different, the languages are different. There's a lot of culture and celebration of culture in these books, from things that I don't know if it directly correlates to certain aspects of African culture, which is where I suspect this has come from. But yeah, like it's just like it's there, and then I know that we're going to finish in this world or this land, and then in the next book we're going into another land potentially. There's references to scaling, which is where they sort of come from, and having to get used to certain cultures and then checking your own biases. I don't know, I'm having a great time with it, and I can certainly see why this series it sort of falls into people's favorites categories, and it may even end up there for me. As someone who's a world building nut, I'm having a really, really good time with it, and like the narration by Kate Redding is just fantastic. So those are the two things that I am currently reading. I am hoping that if I finish Blood of the Spear sort of this week, I will try and read, I cannot remember the name of it, something of Thieves, The Fate of Thieves by Tori Tekken, which is the novella in the Legends of the Bruhai series. I'll put the cover up here, which is why I'm pointing in the general direction of this person's chimney thingy. And then if I get time, I will read that as well. Because even if I'm alpha reading, like it's a novella, I can read it on my my e-reader while I'm going to bed and sort of give thoughts on that as well. Anyway, that's it. I'm cooking the baked oats again. I'm trying it with cocoa powder this time with a bit of spray on the top to see if I can get it to golden up a bit. I don't know how it's going to work, but they turned out fine the other day. And easy meal prep. I just like put it in a pot and put it in there, and it's done in 40 minutes, which is great for when you're working in the office more days per week. Now I'm going to go make minestrone, so which is Rachel's favourite soup, and it's getting cold here. So, and I have a lot of veggies to use up. Minestrone is such a good way to use all the vegetables you forgot about in the fridge. Anyway, I will catch you in the next update. It is like 9 p.m. and I suck at staying up like any later than this, but I just finished Blood of the Spear by Mark Timoney, and I don't think I actually like said anything about what it's about. Just ignore my hair. I'm about to go to bed. And it is the story of two brothers. I mean, there's many more characters, but we start with two brothers, Kyle and Darian, who are at various stages of their life. They're trying to do like other things. So Kyle's trying to be part of the Demon Lords, and Darian is trying to get into being a Cyrillus wielder, and they get caught up in what is a grand adventure fueled by prophecy, and they come across a chalet, and I definitely got more of the chalet this time around. I think a lot of that went over my head the first time that I read it, and they're just like part of this like huge prophecy, and like the book is so fun. If you like sort of like monster hunting vibes with epic fantasy backing, you'll have a good time with this. And I don't actually think I did a really good job of explaining what the story is about. look, if you're a fan of things like Wheel of Time, but you wanted more like monster hunting in there, then you're going to have a good time. With this, I should not have tried to do any sort of update at this time of evening. Anyway, I have finished it. I don't know what I'm going to go on to next. So the alpha read will probably happen now when I get back from the UK, just because there's some final touches being put on it, but like I'm up to date now. So I could go on and read Starbinder, I suppose, which is a prequel to Blood of the Spear, but I don't know that I'll jump into that straight away if I go and read it. But yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm feeling right now. I think The Fate of Thieves is probably going to be pretty high up on my radar. I don't know whether it's going to be tomorrow or just sort of, I'll try and get it in before the end of the month. I'd still like to get the House of a Thousand Doors done by the end of the month, but both of those things are quite short, and I'm relatively positive that those two things will take about 10 days. It's currently the 8th. I'm probably not going to start anything else this evening, but it does give me about 10 days to play with where I don't have like a beta read or an alpha read, so I probably have room to pop something else in. Now, the two things that I'm thinking of, I didn't actually like grab before I did this, but potentially I am thinking the Warrior Moon, which is book 3 in whatever this series is called. I read book 2 this year. I didn't love it, but I read book 1 in December and I did love it. So I have book 3. It's pretty thick, but I've got a couple of days where I'm like working at home or like my days off. So that's a potential. The other one that I was thinking, and it just popped into my head like 3 seconds ago, was just to have a bit of a fantasy break and maybe read Caliban's War, which is book 2 in the Expanse series. Now, I didn't love book 1. I appreciated it for what it was, but I think I do maybe need a fantasy break before jumping into like another big book like The Cure for the Living. So that could potentially be on the cards as well. I guess we'll find out what tomorrow brings. I would have picked something. What should be neither of those two things? I don't know. I've also been thinking of like reading a thriller, but I don't have the thriller I want to read in my house, and I can get it from the library, but they're on audio, and I'm still reading The Tropic of Serpents. I've gotten to 65% of that. Chapter 16 in The Tropic of Serpents was so like deep and emotional, and so book 1 and book 2 have both had like a really heavy chapter in amongst the whimsy, which is just like hard hitting and sort of makes you stop and think about how deep these books are outside of like surface level. But Roger hasn't started yet, or at least he hasn't told me that he started. So I might put that on pause for now because I'm at part 4 and just wait until he's at least started. He will blitz that book. He listens to it much faster than I do, but I'll at least give him some time to like catch up. So yeah, I don't really know what tomorrow will bring. I guess we'll see. But for now, these bloodshot eyes are going to bed. Good night. I realize I have not done an update in like an eternity, so I'm going to do a quick one now. It is currently the 13th of May. I would like to finish the vlog when I finish this current read, which is The Castle of a Thousand Doors by Kenny Gould. I put The Tropic of Serpents on pause. Roger's not quite ready yet, so I was at 65% of that. It's fairly easy to follow along with. Like I'm confident I'll just pick it back up and not need to like reread anything to be able to know where I'm at. So I put it on pause for now, and I switched over to Castle of a Thousand Doors by Kenny Gould. This is a fairly short, I think it's 290 pages, progression fantasy, and I have both the audio and the ebook, and I'm kind of just sort of like, if I'm out walking and driving, I'll be listening to the audiobook, and if I'm just sort of like before bed, I'll be reading the ebook. This is interesting. I definitely prefer the audio for it because it is sort of game lit. So there are a lot of gaming elements like getting loot and things like that, where the vocal acting can be like quite dramatic. And I think if you think of like the realm of Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I have not read, although this book has made me go, maybe I should give it at least a try, like book 1, and see if I like it, because I always like turn my nose up at it thinking, no, it's not going to be for me. But I'm genuinely enjoying this book by Kenny Gould. So we are following King Crow, who is a professional light ball player who basically goes home after this big game and then is taken away and said that he is being arrested for treason. at which point he is put into The Hunt, which is a commercialized event where people have to go through this 10-level dungeon and basically no one makes it out alive. And you have like timers and like all the levels, and he gets there and he gets there too late to get any sort of like good weaponry or any like statistics. So he ends up with an electromagnetically charged sentient potato who is his companion and weapon. And it is as insane as it sounds. So this is silly. It's very much on the like the tongue-in-cheek funny side, which sometimes does not work for me, but because I'm doing it on audio, it's working a lot better, and like I am genuinely enjoying the audio more than reading it physically. I think that this is a particular type of like game lit which does lend itself to narrator and like voice acting, personally, in my opinion. So I'm having a good time with that. Like I said, more on audio than on the ebook, but I am just sort of like reading the ebook at the same time before bed because I don't currently have like another ebook, and I'm in the middle of so many, I don't want to add another one to the mix. So I'm hoping to finish that this week. I think at the time of filming this clip, I'm about 50% of the way through. I expect to finish it on probably tomorrow, which will let me sort of close off the 2 books for this vlog. But outside of that, I don't have a physical book at the moment just because I am doing the audio and ebook for this particular one. And I don't have a beta read going on right now. So I will finish this one, give an update, and then move on to something completely new. I still have about half the month left before Rachel and I go away, so I'm aiming to get another 2 books in, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right, that is the update. I will catch you whenever I do finish this book. Not me realizing I've been talking for the last 5 minutes and I have not hit record. We'll try that again. Hello. Okay, it's end of this vlog. I finished The Castle of a Thousand Doors by Kenny Gould. I had a really good time with this one. I think if you like game lit, that is like perfect for escapism. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's kind of silly, it's kind of funny, and it just was a wild time. It got super hectic at the end of this first book. There was like enemies galore. They were just sort of everywhere. Alliances were coming into play. The bigger plot points of the entire series is coming into the mix now. And overall, had a good time, gave it about 4 stars. I will say that I do like this one much more on audio, and if I was just sort of reading it physically, my rating probably would have been lower. But when I switched completely to audio, I had a good time with it. So I'm done with that one now. I'm also still paused with The Tropic of Serpents by Marie Brennan. I will continue to pause that. I'm going to move over to another buddy read at the moment, which is Vile Lady Villains by Denai. I cannot pronounce the surname. I'll put the cover up here. I've listened to about 10% of this so far, and I'm loving it. I've heard mixed things, but we start, so it's about Lady Macbeth and Clytemnestra being 2 notorious lady villains, and the first chapter for both POVs is like the events that made them the villain. So Lady Macbeth, it's going to the witches, and then with Clytemnestra, it's the events after the death of Agamemnon. So then they get sort of like swept up into like this portal where they're both there, and they're both like, I will cut you down because I don't trust you. But also tension, and I'm not sure why. And I'm eating it up. So like, I love a bit of gay romance, and like we've got like the start of this enemies to lovers, which I guess I'm just basic because I also enjoy that a lot. But they're like in this realm and they're sort of like circling each other, like hissing, and just not really. That's just what it feels like in the book. I don't want to give too much away. And now we're like, well, I guess we're not getting out of here unless we work together, so maybe we should do that, but I'm still gonna hold this knife at you. I don't trust you at all. So I listened to that while I was running errands this morning. That was a bit of fun. And then for, speaking of non-gay romance though, I don't know why my brain's like, now's the time to read Outlander, of all things. I had no intention of reading this in my lifetime. It was gifted to me by someone, which is why I've kept it. And I'm like, you know what? I guess now is the time. I'm going to the UK. My friend is about to move to Scotland. Apparently, the time is now. And I don't mind a bit of a like romantic historical fantasy every now and then. Even though I don't gravitate towards like straight romance, I don't like historical fantasy, historical fiction with romance in it. I don't mind it. So we'll see. I don't know how I'm going to fare with that one, to be completely honest. It may be a miss. The 20 pages I read last night, not really enough to go on, excuse me, but I mean, it's fine. It does seem like it's quite bingeable to read, so we'll see how we go there. But that is it for the vlog this month. I hope to get this one up probably the first week of June, so I'll be away by the time this one comes up. But yeah, that is what I'm reading next. I guess I'll catch you at the end of the month or at the very beginning of July when I talk about whatever happened in the UK while we're there in Greece. But until then, stay safe. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.